Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today I want to talk about being unproductive. Okay, people who don't do anything with themselves and their lives, and how that relates to socialism and in some ways, communism. I think and I feel strongly that the world has tended to move more towards communistic and communist expression or policies, basically, and socialist expressions and policies. Governments, especially in first world countries, sort of have veered more towards, happy-go-lucky policies, where they kind of want to ensure everyone's well-being. And it sounds good, like, hey, let's ensure everyone's well-being. Everyone has the right to do this. Everyone has the right to do that. Everyone has the right to to have food, to eat, to have a house, etc. Okay? But there's one thing you're missing, in all of that. And you'll see it I've seen it now a lot, in my interactions with people from the so-called first world, as a South African, as a person from a so-called third world country. I actually thank God that I'm South African. Okay, Viva South Africa, and I'll tell you why. Okay, because in South Africa, for a long time, we South Africans have had to work our asses off for whatever we have. And so when we go to other countries where things are a little bit easier than in South Africa, we tend to flourish quite easily because we have what people would call good work ethic. And why do we have good work ethic? Because things are real for us in South Africa. Okay, you don't work, you don't eat. It's that simple. Okay, there's no one gonna give you anything. Okay, everything is based on the sweat that you put into it, the sweat on your brow, so to say. You cannot just get away with doing nothing. It's just not possible. Okay, third world countries create productive people, innovative people, hardworking people, because in third world countries, the infrastructure does not support laziness. We cannot afford to do it. Okay, we cannot afford to feel entitled, because it just does not work. And so even South Africa, unfortunately, has tried to move towards some communist policies, and that's basically what's causing the collapse in the country and the economy, because it's, why governments think, not only the South African government, many governments, why they think that good governance equals handouts, is really beyond me. Okay, because in every other business, in every other sector, the private sector, that is, non-productivity equals bankruptcy. Okay, your employees don't deliver and the company goes bankrupt. Okay, but for some reason in government departments, in the public sector, not delivering, not being productive, right, is not seen as a problem. People are like, yeah, we're still going to get our money in the end. At the end of the day, the government must pay. Where do you think the money comes from? Are you just funneling funds from the private sector, from really productive people, into the public sector to fuel the lifestyle of unproductive people? Okay, for fun, basically. That's kind of a recipe for disaster, to drain any country. And so, what we need to do is be realistic. Okay, nature has it. In nature, okay, if a man does not go out and hunt, his family will starve. Okay, now I know there is such a thing as, the feel good stuff, shame, he can't go and hunt, he's ill, he needs help. I'm not saying don't help people who need help. I'm not saying don't give people if you can give them, okay? I'm saying don't handicap them through giving, and there is a big difference, okay? When countries pursue policies that enables their people to live a comfortable lifestyle that has not been earned, okay, they create lazy, unproductive people who then just become a burden on the tax system in the country and a burden on the government, and who will demand and expect to have things without needing to work for it, because you have trained them that way. You have showed them that they don't need to work really hard to get what they want, because you will give them what they want, you will give them what they need, because that's the meaning of being a good government. And I'm saying, no, that's not the meaning of being a good government. That's a recipe for disaster in the long term. Okay? In the short term, sure, everyone's happy, right? We're getting free shit, everyone's happy. But the long term, that's a recipe for disaster, because now you will create a citizenry of people who are not capable. And then you have to rely on migrant workers from third world poorer countries, who are hardworking and who have the work ethic, and they will come, they will work their way up the system, up the ladder, use the abundance in your country, and they end up being wealthier than your so-called native population because of work ethic. And then you end up with xenophobia, okay? You end up with people saying, look, let's kill them, let's get rid of them, we don't want them here. These, I don't know, Asians, or these Arabs, or these, whatever derogatory terms. I don't wanna use the really obvious derogatory term, but that's what you have in the end, You have that because you have not, as a government, forced your people to develop a proper work ethic, and you have given them handouts, and so they have not harnessed their ability to innovate. They say necessity is the mother of invention. Okay, well, if people don't feel the need to do, they will not do, because you, the government, has promised to hand them out free shit. And so I think, okay, calling on governments, calling on South African government, calling on the British government, calling on governments who are spoiling their people, basically, I'm saying don't give people free things, force creativity, force innovation, and help people with that. Help people with innovation, help people with creativity, help people become productive. Invest in those things. Don't just hand food out. Yes, if there's a crisis of hunger, for example, and people are genuinely gonna die of hunger, sure, step in, but the job of the government is not to become a charity organization. Leave that for the charity organization. Give them tax cuts. That's fine. The job of the government is to lead the nation into prosperity. And one of the best resources you have available to you is your own people, human resources. And that's kind of my message. I feel very annoyed by entitlement, by people who only have loud mouths and are useless otherwise, and who only know how to make demands, but really, in terms of the nation, they are reliant and dependent. And that, my friend, we don't need more of that. Viva South Africa.